Okay, welcome to H3 Health, Happiness, and Hope. I am the Acapellis, and with me is Brother Scott Sweetman. Hey, Brother Scott, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. I'm really excited about tonight's show. Um, it's going to be a bright and shiny one.
Woo! Bright and shiny. I can see clearly now the rain has gone. All right, let's jump right in there, Scott.
Yeah, we're going to talk about vitamin D because I know we talk about vitamins, not always, but a lot because it's a controversial subject, right? Like when we were kids, did your parents ever throw vitamins at you?
Never.
Just
No.
eat. And I don't know, we grew up on a beef farm, right? So it was red meat with every meal. We'd have pork with breakfast on the weekend, bacon, maybe a pork chop once in a while, turkey at Christmas and Thanksgiving. And then we had potatoes always, never rice. I remember the first time I went to a Chinese restaurant in Lacombe, Alberta, back when it was a teeming town of 1,200 people. And I ate rice for the first time. I thought it was space food.
Space food?
Space food. I'd never seen anything like it, right? So, yeah, anyway. And then vegetables, a couple of veg out of the garden, right?
Yeah. But you had a garden, as did we had a garden, right?
Yeah.
Everybody should have a garden, right? But that's not what we're talking about tonight. But
No.
having a garden, having fresh produce that you're making in your own soil is like super valuable, I think. So, not that I'm a good gardener. My wife would say, "Oh yeah, easy for you to say. You don't weed anything," but
our age, I didn't even know you could buy vegetables in a store until I was like 10 or 11.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Right? Because the local store was basically a dry goods store. The Bentley General, the Big M it was called.
The Big M.
In Bentley, Alberta, yeah. And it was a dry goods store. So instant potatoes, that was about the vegetables you could buy. Maybe they had frozen peas. I don't know. We never bought them. But certainly the first time I walked into a big produce section in the city, I was like, oh, they got a garden in here, Mom. What are we doing? We don't have to do all that weeding and hoeing and watering. It's right there.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, we're going to talk about vitamin D because it's a source of contention. Who knew, right?
Okay. Well, I take vitamin D.
Do you?
And I do spend time out in the sun, but as far as I'm told, everybody should take vitamin D unless you live at the equator and walk around naked all day. Then you need vitamin D. Is kind of my understanding.
And that's one camp, and then there's other camps that say no, our bodies make sufficient vitamin D, and we've survived this long. Why would we need to take vitamins, etc.? As you know, our skin makes vitamin D. Right? Well, actually, our liver and pancreas. What was the other? I saved the image because I kept blacking out here on which two organs. What's on the other side? Pancreas, liver,
kidney, pancreas, right? Liver and pancreas.
Yeah, I think so. Anyway, there's two organs that make vitamin D in our body, and they can. They make a little bit different kind of vitamin D. And we have something called attached vitamin D, and then we have free vitamin D. And there's been a lot of back and forth on which one of those is more important. Kidneys and livers, that's what I was thinking about. Yeah. So the normal process of vitamin D is we ingest it through normal food, right? Sometimes a supplement. It's absorbed by the intestine, carried to the liver via the bloodstream, or it's manufactured in our skin as absorbed through sunlight, UV rays and sunlight. In the kidneys, vitamin D is transformed into 1.25 OHD2 calcidol? Yeah, calcidol. A biological active form of vitamin D. And that becomes important when we start talking about supplements, okay? And in the liver, vitamin D turns into 2,5 OHD of calcidol, primary source of circulating vitamin D in our blood. So even though the kidneys do produce some, our skin does produce some, primary form in a healthy person is coming from our liver. Okay?
Okay.
I I thought it came from our skin primarily, but
Okay. Yeah.
it can. But the most amount of free vitamin D in our system is from our liver, and that's right now they're arguing about what's more important, whether the free vitamin D levels or the attached or fixed vitamin D levels are more important. We'll leave that one because the jury's still out on that one.
Okay.
Do you know what happens if you don't have enough vitamin D?
Not exactly. I just know you're supposed to, but no. What does happen if you don't have enough vitamin D?
Yeah, well, it's closely tied to calcium, and often in supplements. Like I have a couple of vitamin D supplements, and they both come with calcium. So it's calcium plus vitamin D3 in my case, because vitamin D leads to loss of bone density, can be a big precursor to osteoporosis, fractures, broken bones. It can lead to rickets in children primarily. The bones can even become soft enough to bend without enough. But less commonly known symptoms of vitamin D deficiency are, and I was really enjoyed this article. It's from the Yale University Center for Mineral Studies. So how our bodies absorb minerals. Really interesting center at Yale. Anyway, fatigue, not sleeping well, bone pain or aches, depression or feelings of sadness, hair loss, muscle weakness, loss of appetite, and lowered immune system are all direct symptoms of vitamin D. And a lot of them have only been discovered recently.
Wow. Those are huge. I did not know that was the case. So, yeah. I thought it was kind of like what do you call those? Adaptogens, like ginseng or whatever. It's just kind of a general overall health booster kind of a thing, which, I mean, it is, but those are some serious consequences of not having enough vitamin D. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was really surprised actually by the number of things that vitamin D actually can contribute to problems in our body. But it is, like you said, it is connected to other nutrients, especially calcium, in how our body needs it. So there has to be a certain amount of availability to our bodies. And it helps us absorb calcium, which is why even if you get enough vitamin D but don't get enough vitamin C, you can get osteoporosis. Calcium, not vitamin C. Sorry, I misspoke. Sorry.
Yeah.
Vitamin C gods, forgive me. I meant to say calcium. So calcium and vitamin D are both really carefully linked to the bone diseases. But the other things are not dependent on calcium. They can be vitamin D in their own right. When I was in Europe at Cambridge studying medieval medicine with a very famous medieval medicine scholar, he was talking about how it was a big problem from the medieval period up till Victorian period in Europe, because in winter people just didn't go outside that much.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and depression was a huge problem. Suicides were up, how much that was recorded, violence, all sorts of things in society. Places like Russia, France, where they have, really cold winters in the north.
Mm-hmm.
And they tried to, a lot of our Christmas traditions, bringing greenery inside, those types of things, were to help alleviate that depression. He felt like a natural way to do that. So also nerve health. And I didn't know vitamin D is important for nerve health and the way our body functions. Liver or things we ingest is one of our main sources of vitamin D. Where do you think that we can get vitamin D from?
Well, I know from the sun.
Right, food-wise, though.
Oh, food-wise. Well, that I don't exactly know. I would imagine it's pretty prevalent in a lot of foods, but foods we don't eat enough of, right? Mm-hmm. I would think.
Well, we're fortunate.
Probably in vegetables, and most of it don't eat enough vegetables.
That's true, but in modern dietary in the West, vitamin D gets added to a lot of foods. Because it's not easy to get a lot of vitamin D naturally, right? So it's added to milk, it's added to orange juice, And there's a few other things when I looked up vegan sources of vitamin D, right? Because I thought, well, if it's hard for people who eat anything to get vitamin D, then what do people who have restricted diets, or restricted is not an appropriate word, is it? What would you call
Yeah, I don't know. I guess a more selective diet. Let's call it
Oh,
that way.
yeah, that's good. Selected diet. So yeah, fortified soy milk. They add vitamin D to soy milk.
Hmm.
Drink soy milk. But here's one natural source. You're gonna love this one, Al. I saved this one for you. Mushrooms.
Woo!
Are one of the only non-animal sources that contain significant amounts of vitamin D.
That, you know what? I just read that too. Why didn't I remember that? I'm reading a book on mushrooms, and they just talked about vitamin D and how amazing mushrooms are. Yeah. Okay, cool. Cool.
Yeah.
Another confirmation that I need to be a mushroom grower and forager and mushroom sharer. That's kind of, okay, good.
I can't wait to do some videos with you on your mushroom farming. I want to come out and see Al's mushroom plots. I can't wait. So
hey,
the only caveat,
Scott, let me just interrupt you with one thing. I seeded some mushrooms at our place, right? And one of the ones, you take a tree stump or a chunk of wood and you bore holes in it and put these little plugs inside and then cover them with wax. So I did that about like 2 months ago. And I said to the guys I bought them from, the Urban Apothecary, said, well, so when do those things sprout? He says, oh, that might be 3 years, 4 years. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So I did. Maybe I should have asked some more questions, but anyways, they're not going to be ready this summer. I can assure you of that. So
that would be like tree farming in terms of harvesting, right? Like your first crop is 5 years from now or something. That's amazing. That's pretty cool. I can't wait to hear about that. The one caveat on mushrooms, though, is that mushrooms contain D2, where animal products contain D3. Research says that, and this is kind of one of those areas where they disagree, that D2 might not be as bioavailable as D3. Most supplements nowadays will be D3, although D2 is available because of where they come from and how they're used. So fortified cereals, most breakfast cereals now, commercial breakfast cereals, have vitamin D in them. Orange juice, which seems like a weird place to put vitamin D. Fortified almond milk. Pretty much, if you see fortified on the label, it's going to have vitamin D added to it.
Cool.
So, and unlike some of the labels, this seems to be a real one, that vitamin D is added in a bioavailable format that can benefit us. So it says that people with chosen diets, that's a word we decided, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much can get it from just milk, orange juice, natural source vitamin or mushrooms, and sunshine, like you said, right? But there's an issue with sunshine.
Like skin cancer, you mean?
Bom, bom, bom. You were supposed to give me a drum roll.
Oh, sorry.
I was trying to be dramatic.
What is the foreboding message you have for us, Brother Scott?
Yeah, well, it points to another issue with these magic numbers they come up with, saying everyone needs. And they've only found out fairly recently that most of the numbers concerning vitamin D and lots of other vitamins are based on Caucasians. And one of the things that blocks the UV rays is I want to get it right, melanin.
Yeah.
In the, what's it called? The pigment in our skin, right? That blocks it. So people with darker skin, but whether it's, for any reason or whether it's racial, people from African-American descent, people with Asian descent, people from, Spain or Moorish descent. Moorish may be a not politically correct word anymore. I don't know. Okay. Anyway, so darker skin, they can't absorb as much vitamin D from the sun. And all of the required daily limits basically were done by a bunch of white guys, as usual.
Yeah.
Back in the day, right? All the scientists were middle-aged white dudes, probably balding and looking a lot like me and you, except for the hair. And, this is put out as universal numbers. So everyone around the world is going off these numbers, and vitamin D is one of the ones that should be pretty specific to who we are racially and our skin pigment and color.
Okay, I have a contribution to make to this story. Have you ever watched a video, a documentary called The Story of Us? Have you ever done that?
I think I have, and I think you and I talked a little bit about it, right?
I'm pretty sure we did. But one thing, if I recall from the story correctly, or from that documentary correctly, is that the dark pigment, as you're saying, so black people that live near the equator, as an example, like where the origins of humanity came from, they would be outside big hours of the day, a lot of time of the day, very physically active as well, but have a lot of sunshine on their bodies, right? And that gave them like the right amount of vitamin D. When they migrated to northern climates, then they had severe vitamin D deficiency because they didn't have so much sun. And you think of a winter situation, well, you're way less for outdoors, and more so that their health would suffer drastically without vitamin D. And I think that's still the same. Like, I don't think anything has changed physiologically wise. So that's even more, if I was a black person, it'd be more important for me to have enough vitamin D. Whereas as a white person, it's easier for me to get enough vitamin D because my skin is more receptive to the vitamin D that comes from the sun. Does that make sense?
And that's absolutely true. But there are some issues with that because there are some conditions that interfere with the absorption of vitamin D. And I'm just trying to pull up my notes here because I want to get it right. And so they normally talk about international units for vitamin D or lots of other vitamins. Children are 600, teenagers are 600, adults are 600. Over 70 is 800. People who are aging need more for the whole bone care thing.
Right.
But there are conditions that help block, or not help, but that block the transmission of vitamin D or the creation of vitamin D in the body. And one of those is particularly relevant to southern Alberta, and that's Crohn's disease, celiac disease, which is really common. I was reading another article that southern Alberta has a high incidence rate of celiac, inflammatory bowel disease, or Crohn's disease. And these block the absorption of vitamin D into the body.
Wow.
Not just through the skin, but through oral or vitamins or even supplements.
Yeah.
So it's actually pretty complicated. People who've had bariatric surgery, anyone who's had any part of their small intestine removed, because that's the area inside your body that absorbs most of the vitamin D. Anything affecting the pancreas, such as exocrine pancreatic insufficiency. First day with a new tongue, new lips. Sorry, Al.
Easy for you to say. Yeah, easy for you to say.
Yeah, not so easy. But isn't that interesting? I've never had anyone tell me that before. That those things and people with those conditions really need to be careful about their vitamin D intake, regardless of how much time they spend outside or regardless of how much supplemental vitamin D they're trying to take. Because these conditions will inhibit the absorption, and there's actually a medical form of vitamin D. Remember I said that our bodies changed it into, calcisorol? Do you remember what I said it was?
No, I remember you said it changed into something, but I can't remember.
Yeah, calcitrol. C-A-L. Sorry?
Calcitrol, you said. Okay.
Yeah. C-A-L. CITRIOL.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, that can be provided in a medical form so that our bodies don't have to convert it to that. You can get a prescription that provides it. Again, we're not doctors. I'm just sharing information here. But apparently, for people with Crohn's disease or other inhibitive conditions, often a doctor will prescribe the vitamin D already in a medicated processed form, which is pretty interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
What all that leads us to is that you got to get tested for vitamin D. Everyone should be tested, and it's not something doctors do normally.
Okay.
I get tested for all the vitamins normally because I have problems with absorption and pituitary. And I was amazed how many vitamins I have too much of, according to standards. But like the doctor says, don't worry about it. Unless you have, unless you feel something's wrong, those are just numbers, right? But in a lot of cases, there was deficiencies, and vitamin D is one of them. So the blood test or urine test, they use both. Did you get tested for vitamin deficiencies or vitamin D deficiency?
Probably 5 years ago I did like a whole blood panel thing and test on that, and on testosterone as well. I take a testosterone supplement, like a cream. So I got tested for what those levels were. No, it's more than 5 years ago. It's 10 years ago.
Oh, you got to go, man. Like these articles are saying that you should be tested yearly. Like
what?
Yeah.
Time for that.
They don't have to do it's when they take your blood, you just ask them to do it.
All right.
Well, you have to ask your doctor, I guess. I guess you can't just say to the lab tech, hey, run me a vitamin D screen on that, would you?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
But yeah, they're suggesting here that especially if you're one of those categories, or you're concerned about your bone health, like maybe you've had some of those things, or that other list of symptoms, muscle pain, bone pain, increased sensitivity to pain. Yale University says that one. Tingling, pins and needle sensations in the hands and feet can often be misdiagnosed, and it's actually a vitamin D deficiency. Waddling. You know what I mean by waddling? Have you ever seen somebody that sort of walks like a duck?
Yeah.
That could actually be due to a muscle weakness in the hips or thighs and a symptom of vitamin D deficiency.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I'm reading these from possible symptoms that are often misdiagnosed. And
so what started you today what started you on this research about vitamin D? What was that said, hey, what I'm going to research vitamin D? What prompted you?
I haven't been outside in about 2 weeks.
Okay. So, you're in the sunshine now, but not outside. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have our house is great. For whatever reason, they built it backwards. So our bedrooms are on the front of the house, and our common living space is on the back of the house, which makes sense. Every other house in our neighborhood is the other way around. But I don't really want to look out over the street when I'm eating supper. Instead, we look out over our backyard to park, right?
Nice.
But I get a lot of sun when we do our show. So if I leave the windows open, I do get sun, as you can see right now.
Nice.
But I haven't been outside because I've been working a lot. And
what's your boss? He must be a slave driver, that bastard.
Well, actually, he's a really nice guy that kind of lets us work where and how we want.
Good.
Yeah, I get focused on the work, and a day goes by, and I'm like, oh, it's dark outside. Especially this week because nobody's been home. Everyone's been out doing stuff. So I've been like Robinson Crusoe, man. If I didn't have I'm going to say her name, she's going to turn on. If I didn't have Alexa telling me to take my meds and go to bed and stuff, I would have just been up for 3 days staring at the computer screen. But anyway, that got me onto it. Muscle spasms or twitches. I know that a lot of people get diagnosed with what's it called? Restful legs.
Restless leg syndrome or whatever. Restless legs.
Yeah. So Yale's saying that those things can be related to vitamin D deficiency.
Interesting.
So, if you're having those kind of tingly, spazzy kind of things, get your vitamin D checked. It's that simple. They just add it onto the list. You don't have to give more blood. You don't have to pee in any special cups. They just add it onto the tests they're doing.
I am going to get vitamin D checked.
Yeah, and I know for me, my doctor throws them on there regularly just to make sure that I'm getting what I need because I have some problems with hormones and stuff from the pituitary. But these articles, I was surprised because no one else in my house, the girls, because they have some kind of syndrome, but not anything serious, but just some imbalance, and they get their iron. Yeah, it's a type of anemia, so they get their iron levels checked, and when they do that, they usually check their vitamin levels too, because iron is one of those things that's mixed in with a bunch, right, for absorption and things. But the adults in my house, I found out when I was doing this research, have not had a check, maybe ever. So.
Oh, Corolla's coming in. She probably has an opinion about this.
Well, I have an opinion about everything.
Of course.
Woo-hoo!
So we're
Hi,
talking
Corolla.
about vitamin D,
Hi.
and Scott was talking about how all of the things that can go wrong if you're in your body if you have insufficient vitamin D.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's lots of them. Did you
Did
know
you know
that?
vitamin D is actually a hormone?
I did not. Did you know that, Scott? What
All I know is that we are learning so much about vitamin D in the last 10 years that it doesn't surprise me. Yeah, that's cool. I didn't know
So
that.
he's just quoting Yale University. Is that what it was?
Yale University Center for Mineral Absorption, something.
So maybe you should get them to call Corolla, and she'll fill a bid.
Yeah,
I don't.
my friend Corolla says that it's a
Yeah.
hormone. Get your act together,
I'm pretty
guys.
sure vitamin D. I thought vitamin D was a hormone.
All right. Well, sounds
Oh,
good.
yeah, good.
And did you know? Did you know? Like we're talking about from vegan sources, then basically it's in kind of like mushrooms,
Yeah.
fortified like milk, almond
Mhm.
milk, soy milk. You know, will
Mhm.
have vitamin
Everything
D added.
fortified,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So yeah, cool.
It's said that mushrooms is one of the few non-animal. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Say that again,
Is
Scott.
vitamin D a hormone?
I was just sharing with Corolla that point that they said that mushrooms are one of only a few non-animal sources of vitamin D.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
Do you know some other ones? My research, it said
I gotta believe there's vitamin D in potatoes because potatoes have everything in them. Potatoes are like complete food.
See? Vitamin D is also a hormone.
Okay, so Corolla just looked up on Google, and Google says vitamin D is a hormone.
maybe that's why they keep testing me, because of the whole pituitary gland.
Yes.
Well, and people who are low in vitamin D, like it's not good for your health.
Oh,
right?
there's tons of things that Scott was just saying about it. I thought it was just kind of more to optimize yourself, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But there's a whole bunch of things. Even when people like, what do you call it? Walk kind of a thing. That's indicating that there's like hip bone muscle type imbalances or not developed, and vitamin D is a source or a cause for that.
So there is some research now that vitamin D alone might not be enough. And I'm trying to remember if it was Dr. Schved. I haven't seen him for a while on my YouTube. But that there's more that you need that you get when you get the vitamin D, like say from sunlight. And so, kind of like how vitamin C in a bottle isn't quite as good as vitamin C in an orange because there's all these other things that work together. So now they're saying that there might be some more things and that it's better to get vitamin D from the sun, is what I remember I listened to a talk about it.
All right, smart ass.
Sorry.
What is
You
the?
asked for my opinion.
I
so-
did. No, I did. So
Well, that's
my question for you is, what are the concerns, the safety concerns about getting vitamin D from the sun?
Well, of course, you'd have skin cancer, I guess, right?
Skin cancer. So there's a balance you got to have here, or wear sunscreen or hats or something, right? So
I have some interesting stats on that.
let's hear it.
Yeah. So one set of studies say that up to 93% of vitamin D can be blocked by SPF 30 sunscreen.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I believe that.
And another study said, oh, no, it's not that much. It can't possibly be that much. But they didn't put a number on it. So
Oh, just that number's not right. Yeah.
Isn't it also that people of color who have darker skin have a
Yeah.
harder time? Yeah.
We were just having that conversation. Yeah. About the yes. Yeah. Exactly.
yeah, and it's connected with melanin, the pigment in the skin, and how the sort of standard amounts make no sense because we're all different shades and colors. And I was just saying that a lot of the articles recommended getting regularly tested, asking your doctor to do a vitamin D screen when they're doing your regular blood work.
Yeah.
Have you done that? Vitamin-
Well, we used to do that when we did the thing through the university, but I don't think a normal doctor will normally do that unless you request it.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're saying requested. And like in my case, because they're testing my hormone stuff, they do test me for vitamin D all the time.
Corolla had mentioned about this thing at the university. We did this thing with, what was it called? Pure North?
Yep.
Pure North. And Pure North was this this very wealthy businessman who was looking after for the health and wellness of his teams, of his employees, and did a whole bunch of health research about vitamin D. They're huge on vitamin D.
Yep.
And about mercury amalgam fillings.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Them removed because they will seep like mercury into your bloodstream, kind of a thing, right? And so, anyways, they were like huge on vitamin D and would give you like just stacks of vitamin D supplements to take. So
that's interesting because when we were in Japan, they pulled all our mercury amalgam fillings. Like as soon as they saw them, they were like, "Wow!" and they pulled them all.
Yeah, actually, these guys paid. I had 10 from when I was a kid. Like I had like 8 fillings in grade 2 and probably 2 more a year later or something. And they paid for half of them. They paid half of the cost of them to be removed. This program did.
Wow, that's
like it was like $10,000 in total, I think, to get all those fillings removed.
And it was a free program. It was amazing. So it was. I think it's that. What's it? Dr. Alan Markin, the guy. Is he a doctor? Alan Markin, where that one building on the U of All campus is named after him. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
We should look into that a little more. They're saying
it's actually pretty much defunct now. That program is defunct.
Is it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was kind of running and it cost quite a lot more money. And then I think now after COVID, I think it went defunct. Yeah.
The research said that vitamin D can vary greatly, like the reasons we've talked about, right? So medical conditions. I didn't know that Crohn's and irritable bowel syndrome, and what was the other one now we talked about?
Crohn's, irritable bowel. Yeah, there's one other one that you had named.
The devil's mix of stomach trouble.
Yeah. So anyways, about them being so prevalent in Southern Alberta. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Why?
Yeah. Southern Alberta is actually one area geographically, and it's caused some people to start researching, is there some kind of link to like our corporate farming here of animals? We have a lot of feedlots. Is there some, in our water that's causing this? Why is one area, it's what is it? Crohn.
Celiac. Wasn't celiac?
Yes.
Celiac disease, the other one. Yeah.
Okay. So celiac, cystic fibrosis, inflammatory bowel syndrome, or Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, bariatric surgery, anything where small intestine has been removed or resectioned, and anything affecting the pancreas can all greatly reduce the body's ability to absorb vitamin D.
Yeah, that's interesting because I have had IBS all my life and irritable bowel. And when we did the Pure North thing, I was super deficient in vitamin D. They gave me like 5 of the 10,000 units to take, so many days in a row and then go to a normal, right? They were trying to bring my vitamin D up.
That could very well be why. So
yeah.
I think after reading this and talking to you, people should ask their doctor to test them, right?
Yeah.
Healthcare, so it doesn't hurt anymore. They don't take more blood.
No,
they use the same amount. So some sources say you can get vitamin D toxicity, causing hypercalcemia, elevated levels of calcium in the blood, kidney stones, and heart problems. I saw a few sources where they said you have to be a little careful because people that are susceptible to kidney stones, and that's it. Like out of my male friends, some guys get it, some guys don't, and I wouldn't say that there's a common denominator among them, but people who do have to be careful taking vitamin D supplements. They said that it can exacerbate that situation.
That makes sense. Yeah.
But getting back to the toxicity, Yale and a couple of the other places said that you would have to take massive amounts of vitamin D to overdose, like massive.
Yeah.
So,
how much do you take a day, Scott?
If I could find the bottle, I'd tell you. I recently switched to a different kind. I take D3 rather than D2. And that's a great question. I wish I knew.
I usually take between 3,000 and 4,000.
Yeah. Here's the D3 that we take through Jameson. And it's 1,000 international units. You take 3 a day.
3 or 4.
Have you taken your vitamin D today?
Nope.
Have some vitamin D.
These ones are quite tasty. So.
Yeah. Jameson makes a lot of health supplements, right? Without a
Yeah.
lot of extra stuff in them. Boutique vitamins and supplements have been popular for quite a few years now. Like if you go in a supplement store, you'll see all these, where they've spent obviously hundreds of thousands of dollars on marketing, and their colors and the labels are all like, oh, this is like the Mercedes-Benz of supplements, but what's inside is not regulated, so who knows what's in there, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it says that your skin type, the amount of sun exposure, and that's what we were talking about there is, a lot of sort of, the Canada Health Guide or whatever say, 15 minutes 3 times a day exposing your arms, your legs, and your face is all the vitamin D you need. Nowadays they're saying, yeah, okay, but your skin type, how strong the sun is in terms of UV rays, because the angle changes, right? Like even on some bright days, the UV content isn't high, and other days it's overcast and we're getting bombarded with UV like crazy. Your diet and your overall health all affect whether you should be taking supplements and how much.
Cool.
It's not a one size fits all kind of deal.
Yeah.
Ultimately, a balanced life. That's the big thing that everyone comes across, and getting it tested.
Yeah.
That's the
your advice you're sharing with, or the advice we're sharing, is that test yourself for vitamin D, see where you're at.
The doctor, yeah.
Get the doctor, to do that. Unless you have a lab at home and you can draw your own blood and check it yourself, but I don't think that's going to happen.
I used to be able to do in college. I used to be able to do hemostats, blood counts, and sperm counts because we were doing reproductive technology on horses. So, not that I tested myself for either of those things, but there was a time when I could. Sorry?
You have some daughters, so obviously you were okay.
Yes. Twins. Yes, twins. So the Japanese always told me I had powerful seed.
Yeah. There you go, see?
I don't know about that, but a blood test is really simple. It's just a hemograph slide.
Yeah.
Right? It's got little lines etched in it, and then you stain the stain medium. So yeah, I suppose you probably could. I don't know what the vitamin D test is, but I shouldn't assume you can't do it at home, right?
No, yeah. So anyways, the long and the short of it, we're saying vitamin D, have an adequate amount of vitamin D. There's many sources that you can do that. Sun is one, and then you have to be cautious in terms of that you don't overdo that and cause yourself damage to your skin. But other than that, getting it from the sun and getting it from food sources that have the bioavailable vitamin D, smart plan. Take a test to figure out where you're at, or get your doctor to give you some guidance on terms of where you're at. And those things, getting to the right level, could alleviate a lot of discomfort and your just possible negative health consequences, right?
Absolutely. It's not so simple as a lot of other things where they can say, like anemia is pretty easy to tell. You're pasty, you're fainting, that kind of stuff. But as you said, vitamin D is one of those complex things that could be mixed in with a lot of other stuff. So get it tested is the safety standard there. So
I found the talk I was thinking of here where this doctor, I can't even say his last name. He has a thing called MedCram on Facebook, and so he does all kinds of lectures. It really started through COVID, but his talk here is sunlight, optimize health and immunity, light therapy, and melatonin. And then, is this the right one? Sorry, the dust is getting to me here. Light as medicine. What vitamin D isn't enough.
Oh, okay. So it's Roger Shehut.
Schelt.
Schelt. SEHEULT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I listened to this talk, but it's been a while, so I can't remember it really.
So he's saying vitamin D is enough, and you need what?
Light.
Sunlight, or
light.
you need red light?
Sunlight.
Okay, sunlight. Yeah. Okay, there you go. Cool.
What about sunlight lamps? Because I was whining, saying I hadn't been outside in 2 weeks.
Right.
But I have a SAD lamp that I overuse because I feel better when I use it.
You think they would cause vitamin D to be?
Well, why not? Right? It might getting the light at the right frequency, you think would work, right?
Yeah. I don't know.
You know how stupid people can be? I have it beside my chair, right? And I noticed how all of our house plants, the plant beside me, which is sort of in a corner of the house, was growing like crazy. I'm like, wow, I don't know what is with this plant. We should buy more of these. And then just one night it dawned on me, that's because it's getting like 4 hours of sunlight, you fool. You turn on that, your UV lamp and leave it on while you're working. So yeah.
Well, if it's good for the plant, it's got to be good for you, right?
Yeah, I looked it up, and basically a plant light, an indoor plant light, and a sad light are the same thing, just in a different housing.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Cool.
Okay, so next week we're going to talk about kidney health.
Okay, Corolla's going to do some research for next week then, just so she can, participate
She
fully.
has it in her head, man.
Oh yeah,
I don't know if I have anything about kidneys.
I don't even bother asking Google anymore. I just ask Corolla.
Oh yeah. Right.
Hey, Corolla. I think if you did that about 3 times, you'd get a smack out.
There's a couple of times where I ask Google and I give him the answer first.
That's
and
true.
I'm
That
more
does
accurate than Google.
All right. So next week we're going to talk about kidney health, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah. Because
Okay.
we recently had a member in our family have a kidney removed. I think I told you Fleur was away helping her dad.
Yeah.
And he had a kidney removed. And Peter's not young, but I learned a lot looking up, like how big of a deal is it if you lose a kidney, right? Like, because it's not that uncommon for a lot of different reasons. It can be a birth defect, it can be cancer, and a whole rainbow of things in between. So I thought it'd be really interesting for us to talk about kidney health, right?
I'm looking forward to it. So wrap us up there, Scott Sweetman.
Do you have like a chat thing here to put this guy's name in? Because I
Yes.
think this doctor
Yes.
is phenomenal. He gave really good info during COVID, and like he's just, I don't know if I hope it's relevant, but
everything is relevant in H3, man. It's just,
all right.
Yeah, we're here just to get people to think, and mostly for our own education. Al and I learned lots of stuff doing this.
Yeah, Dr. Robert Schelt.
Rogers, what that looks like.
Sorry, Roger, my eyes aren't very good now. And then also put Medcram, because on Facebook he's Medcram.
Speaking of med, how's your knee now, Corolla? Is it better?
I am way better. I can almost bend it, almost like it's, there's some damage, but I bet you it's 80% better.
Not Madcram. It's supposed to be Medcram, not Madcram. My bad spelling. So Medcram. Okay. But that's the guy, the doctor.
Yeah.
Cool.
Can't fix that.
We're gonna fix it.
Whatever. People will figure it out, honey.
No, they won't.
Oh God. Let me
They won't.
Somebody will log on there and they won't trust us anymore, Al.
Exactly.
I believe everything those guys said till they misled me with Madcram. I'm just worried what Madcram might bring up. You never know.
Yeah,
right?
that's true. You never know.
Oh, honey, that's close enough. Take us home there, Scott.
From my friend, the acapella Stan Friesen, and his lovely wife, Corolla Friesen, who usually knows much more than both Alan and I put together.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Scott Sweetman, have a great week, and we'll see you here next Thursday night, 7 p.m. on Just TV to talk about kidney health.
Woo-hoo.
Get a Matson. Keep yourself well. See ya.
See you, Scott.